Hello everyone, welcome to Lost Bits. My name is Marie. It's lovely to see you. This is the place where I share the interesting pieces of information that I find when making the main episodes here on my channel. And this video that you're watching right now is meant to be a companion video to this one. So it's not me trying to boss you around or anything, but if you haven't seen it yet, then you might not know what I'm talking about here. So if you'd like to, you can find a link to it right up here. And oh my goodness, this episode, Lyobaa, was so much fun to make. It was really, really interesting. And there was actually a couple of things I wanted to talk to you guys about. And one maybe you can even help me with, because I went down kind of a rabbit hole and hit kind of a dead end in my research, and it's a little mysterious. Let's jump right in. Well, one of the first things I want to talk about is just to touch a little bit on how many different cool uses people have had with caves throughout time and history and space. Obviously, and I talked about it a little bit in the episode, the Zapotec were not the only ones to have a belief in accessing the underworld through the underground. The Mayans famously do. And honestly, a lot of the different mythology from different parts of the world references the dead being underground, like even in ancient Greece with Hades and the dead living below. And I actually plan on doing an episode in the near future sometime on a Neolithic necropolis on the island of Malta that was built around 6,000 years ago in a cave system there. And can I use this opportunity to point out that according to the Smithsonian website anyway, a cave in Israel known as Kasfa Cave is the site of the oldest known intentional human burial in history from around 100,000 years ago. I've sort of gathered together a collection of links to just different cool stuff about caves and people using them throughout history, and I put them in the sources below. And if you're new here, I should say you can always find a link to a list of all of my sources for every episode pinned to the top comment below. So if you have an interest in ancient human activity in caves, check it out. But the main thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about that I mentioned at the start that's so mysterious is something I also referred to briefly in the episode. But I think I even mentioned on the screen then that it's really hard to find information on them. And sorry, those things are the Pygmy tunnels of Monte Alban. Now, Monte Alban was the main capital of the Zapotec people for most of their history, whereas Mitla, our city, where Lyobaa was believed to be, was more of the spiritual heart of the people. But the main political capital of Monte Alban is a fascinating site in its own right and has a whole bunch of mysteries of its own. But one of the main mysteries that I feel could be most relevant to us with our interest in the Lyobaa tunnels underneath Mitla is the discovery of very small tunnels underneath the capital, or one part of the capital of Monte Alban. Now, I'm describing this very hesitantly, and I only briefly brought it up in the main episode because there's just a lot of mystery here, to be honest. Now, if I hunt around on the internet, I can find basically very similarly worded versions of the same story. So again, all of my stuff will be linked in the sources, but I'll show you one here and I'll go through one with you. Now, this is from a site called Alan's Mysterious World. Let me make it clear, I do not know Alan. I'm not saying that his account is trustworthy or untrustworthy. I'm just going to kind of use this as a textbook example of the kind of versions of the story that I can find on personal pages like this, on Reddit, on other kind of out-of-the-way places. And I won't read to you the whole thing here. You can read it yourself if you want to, but I am going to read his description of these tiny tunnels. Quote, "The first of these tunnels, discovered in 1932 but not explored until 1933, was 20 inches high and 25 inches wide, so small that the excavators could make their way along it only on their backs. After they had inched through it in this way for 195 feet, they came to a skeleton, an incense burner, and funeral urns. There were also ornaments of jade, turquoise, and stone, and a few pearls. Some yards beyond this, the tunnel was blocked, and to enter it again, the explorers had to dig a 25-foot shaft from the surface beyond the blockage. As they wormed along the net stretch, they found even smaller passages, no more than a foot high, branching off the main tunnel. Leading down into one of these was a tiny flight of steps. At a distance of 320 feet from the main entrance, the archaeologists found another skeleton, and a few yards beyond this, at the edge of the northern terrace of the Great Plaza, the tunnel came to an end. Further excavations revealed two similar tunnels, both packed with clay. Finally, to the east of tomb number 7, where the richest treasures had been found, a complex network of miniature tunnels was discovered, all lined with stone and some of them less than a foot high. Smoke was blown into these in an effort to trace their course and revealed a number of unexpected exits. The excavators' initial guess that they had discovered a drainage system was abandoned. Also ruled out was the idea that the tunnels had been a network of emergency escape routes, or had been of any other service to humans of ordinary size. And official speculation about their purpose ceased. Since then, the Pygmy tunnels of Monte Alban have remained one of the major mysteries of the unexplained. End quote. Now, I'm going to stop right here and insert a tiny word of caution, though I know you guys are already smart enough to not believe Alan necessarily at face value. This account that he's describing, I can find almost exactly word for word on a couple other similar sites, very kind of like personal looking sites, like this one here. I'm wondering if it's all being taken from a book or a specific article or something like that. Now, I was able to find Reddit posts like this by people who have claimed to have been in the tunnels and were asking about the state of them. I also saw here on this same post, someone replied and said that they've been sealed up since the 80s, possibly due to vandalism issues, but I don't know how serious to take any of this, and it's very, very hard to find a reliable account. Now, I will say I was able to hunt down a few images that I put in the episode and that you're seeing again here. Though a lot of this I was ready to almost chalk up to just like an urban legend type thing. But the thing is, I did find on the New York Times that there is an article actually from the date mentioned in our blog post thing from 1932 of tunnels being discovered under Monte Alban. And the New York Times does have an archive of it saved on their site. It is pay to view. I did take a screenshot of it that may or may not be in the sources. However, I also may have been desperate enough to pay the $2 to have access to it. I just wanted to see. I just needed to see it with my own eyes. So here we are from the Sunday, April 3rd, 1932 edition. Now, I will warn you, if you decide to check out the screenshot that I've included in the sources, it does use very old-timey 1932 language, so keep that in mind. I will say, after a quick review of it, a lot of features of it do match up with Alan's story that we reviewed. But I will say that Alan's seems to be an exaggerated version, and not just to pick on Alan. Like everyone with that same story that I mentioned, it seems to be kind of a hyped up one. He mentions them going for at least 350 feet. This mentions a distance of about 250 feet. And in this article, the original New York Times article, they do mention finding at least one instance of human bones. I don't know if they found two sets of skeletons the way that original story described. And I don't know if they found two skeletons or two sets of bones or whatever, like he says in his story, because they only mention one here. And I will say here too, in this original article, there is absolutely no mention of the tunnels being teeny tiny at all. Now, maybe Alan has more information out there from somewhere else than I do, but just going off the original article, from what I can see, I feel like maybe it's just kind of a story that's grown in the telling. But I do think that they're real, and I wish I had more information on them. So if any of you watching this at home have any information on the Monte Alban tunnels, if you've been there, if you've seen them, please let me know. I have no problem doing an update video whatsoever. It's fascinating. It's mysterious. I'm wondering why. I looked all over the Project Lyobaa site as well, and I can't find any mention of these there. It's frustrating to not be able to find out more info on these. And I think especially now with doing the Project Lyobaa work at Mitla, with Mitla and Monte Alban being so closely related, I would think that they'd want to be looking at these Monte Alban tunnels right now. So yeah, it's confusing to me that I can't find out more. It's frustrating. But yeah, so everything I do know, what little that there is in the sources. And if you fancy yourself a good detective, or if you just like a good mystery, then please give it all a read. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. This has been so much fun. I love our Saturdays. I can't wait to see you again on Monday for our next main episode, which is going to be on a really, really famous topic The one that I kind of hate how people normally cover. And I'll tell you right now, it is A Tale of the Sea. So if that sounds like your thing, I hope you'll keep an eye out for it. But either way, again, thank you for being here. Be safe, be happy, go with all my love. Until next time, goodbye.